"So," he said, after having vacuumed up a plate of penne alla arrabbiata, drunk in 3 quick swallows a glass of Nero d'Avola, and consumed half a basket of breadsticks. "Do you want to hit another church or see the Borghese Gallery?" She had taken a few bites of her strawberry risotto and 2 bird-feeder sips from the glass of Gewürztraminer that her waiter, a genius clearly, had recommended pairing with it. She glanced up and smiled at him more or less genuinely. The man put away everything from foie gras to a Wendy's single with the joyless efficiency of a 12-year-old. He never appeared to taste anything. The plate before him looked licked clean. When he returned serve smiled, she tried not to notice his red pepper and wine-stained teeth or the breadcrumbs scattered throughout his short beard. They were sitting on the astroturfed patio of an otherwise pleasing restaurant found right behind the American Embassy in Rome. They had been married for 3.5 days. Thus she pushed her fork into the risotto and watched steam rise from its disturbed center. "Think I may be a little churched out." He snapped up another breadstick, leaned back, and rubbed his mouth. This succeeded, perhaps accidentally, in clearing the breadcrumb perimeter around his mouth. He had small eyes whose irises were as hard and green as marbles, a crooked wide nose, and an uncommonly large chin. His thick brown hair sat upon his head with shaggy indifference. She did not mind that he had overslept, or the panicked rush with which they had left their hotel. The only reason she had not overslept was that she had never fallen asleep to begin with. His purple linen shirt was unbuttoned to his sternum, showcasing a pale white chest covered in pubically corkscrewed hair. She felt an urge to lean forward and button him up, but did not want such mothering tasks ever to fall to her. He bit the end off his breadstick. "It's not a church, strictly speaking. It's more like a crypt." Now that he was gesturing, the breadstick resembled a wand. Mark Twain wrote something really funny about it when he visited Rome. Apparently, it's decorated with the bones of all the monks who lived there, like 4 centuries worth. The chandeliers are bones, the gates, everything. All bones. It's supposed to be really creepy. A crypt made of monk bones. Why didn't you say so? Let's do that. His smile softened in a pleased way that made her realize how false his earlier, larger smile had been. "Funny girl," he said. The thing he liked most about her, he enjoyed telling people when she was in earshot, was her sense of humor. He was the only man who had ever said she was funny, and she wondered, suddenly, if that was one of the reasons she married him. She was, in fact, very funny. It had been a good morning, uncontaminated by the reactor leak conversation of the previous night. They had hardly talked about things today, but she knew both of them were aware they would have to. It was the lone solid thing in their day's formless future. It was the train they would have to catch. "Okay," he said, setting down his breadstick with an air of tragic relinquishment. "I'd really like to see the creepy bone crypt." She put her hands on her only slightly rounded belly and gave it a crystal ball rubbing. "Let the record show the pregnant lady would like to see the Borghese Gallery." The single drum of his fingers on the tabletop made a sound like a gallop. "One way to settle it." She slammed her fork to the table. "I'm not playing. Seriously, I won't do it." He was nodding. "One way to settle it." The man loved games of all kinds. Obscure board games, video games manufactured prior to 1990, any and all word games, but he also enjoyed purely biophysical games such as rock, paper, scissors, the essential fairness of which he claimed to particularly admire. He was, however, miserably bad at rock, paper, scissors, the reason being that he almost always took paper. She had once been told, as a girl by some forgotten Hebrew school playmate, that while playing rock, paper, scissors, you were allowed, once in your life, the option of a 4th component. This was fire, which was signified by turning up your hand on the 3rd beat and wiggling your fingers. Fire destroyed everything.